Hi everyone, hi Mark. This is just a short video of some of my favourite, some of my unusual things in my collection, just to show. It won't be very long, there aren't very many things. This first item here, I bought this in Sydney some time ago. It was sold to me as a Prohibition flask, that it was meant to sit and hide amongst real pretzels and be sold to certain people who wanted to buy a tipple. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I liked it. It was pretty inexpensive. I liked the story. I thought the story was pretty cool. Has a little cork stopper up here, and from a distance I think that's a pretty reasonable looking pretzel. The next thing I have is this here. I don't know if any ladies would recognize what this is. This is a nursing mother's nipple shield. It was common in Georgian and Victorian times to hire a wet nurse. That would be a local woman who had just given birth, who you would employ to feed your baby also. I don't know if this was necessarily designed to have a bit of a barrier between the high class child and the lower class feeding woman, or if in fact it was more about teething. The examples, very few examples I've ever seen of old Georgian and Victorian ones are always in very, very bad condition. I've only maybe seen half a dozen of them. This is a replica. It was made in the 1970s, and this is actually the only replica I've ever seen either, so they're not very common. There. This here is a Victorian box that would have held a nipple guard, a nursing mother's guard. Didn't come with the actual apparatus itself, but I was quite interested to buy that. The shape obviously reminiscent of the guard itself. This here, I really like this. Years ago I took a stall, a stand or a booth in a monthly antique and collectibles fair, and everyone was really nice. All the vendors were really cool. Everyone got on very well, except for one particular guy who thought himself and his stock to be a cut above the rest. No one particularly liked this guy very much, and I was really happy to find this on his stall one day, and he had it priced at just $10, and I sort of jumped on this. He obviously didn't know what it was, and I was sort of happy to get a deal off him. This is a Georgian toddy lifter or toddy puller. It's an alternative to a punch ladle. You would place the bowl down into a bowl of punch and put your thumb on the top and lift your toddy out, and that meant you wouldn't overfill a glass and you wouldn't spill it, and that's probably worth about $250 or $300. I was really delighted to get that and get one over on this guy. I really like this lovely piece. This, I do like scientific and medical things. This is sterling 1946, so just after the Second World War. These are the pieces of a tracheotomy tube. This is the outer and inner cannula of the tracheotomy tube. It does all go together, but it always takes me a while to remember how to get it together each time I take it apart. Sort of like this. Yeah, I'm not going to try, so I'll just force it. And this would be obviously down into the throat, and this would be held by two ribbons tied around the back of the neck. A little bit gruesome, but I really like that. This is the only one I've ever seen in sterling as well, hallmark sterling. Okay. And on the medical theme, I bought this here in Auckland not very long ago. I thought it was a bit unusual, didn't know what it was for, and I showed it to my mother, who instantly told me it was for measuring the specific gravity of proteins and albumin in urine. Don't know if you can see that there is some hand engraved measurement marks there. I think I might keep this out and use it as a little shot glass, give it a bit of a clean up, but I really like that too. I thought that was really interesting. I love these. These are two little memento mori, little photos of little babies that passed away. This is a really common Victorian tradition to take photos of your loved ones after they had gone. And I bought these here in Auckland as well. A guy had a big box of these cabinet photos, and they were all priced about $30, $50, $60, except for these two. These were priced at $10 each, and I remember handing him over a $20 bill, and he took it off me and then said, quite sort of under his breath, he said, "I think those babies might be dead." So, and I just said, "Yeah, I think they might be." And he obviously didn't put the value on that the market does. So I really love these two little pictures. After buying these pictures, I was at an antique shop, a local antique shop, and about half an hour away from here, from where I live. And there was about 3 really dusty, cobwebby boxes on top of a cabinet that were marked photos. And as I just found the other 2 photos of the babies, I thought, oh, I'll try my luck. And I had to ask him to get them down. They were so high. And he got them down. I went through them, and after about 5 minutes, I came across this photo here, which doesn't look particularly unusual, but this is my father as a young man, which I thought was really strange. I knew I'd seen this photo before as well, so I was really quite excited to get that and to pay the $1 that he was asking, and brought that home to my parents, where my mother found my father's copy of this photograph. My father was really tickled that he was in an antique shop. He thought that was pretty funny. He was a bit of an antique, my father. These here, I don't think that these are going to come out particularly well. These are what's known as a cartwheel penny. They first came in 1779, reign of George III. These were deeply unpopular. George wanted the penny to represent its value, its weight in copper. So these were really unpopular. They were so big and so chunky. But people engraved the back of them. And this particular one has an engraving, a lovely engraving on the back. I doubt that's going to come up very well, but I'll read it to you. It says, "A gift of friendship by J.C. Chadwick to Jane Bretherton." That's quite beautifully engraved as a little love token. This one's a little bit darker. This is known as a love token, or a convict love token. At this time in England, they were sending out huge amounts of convicts to Australia. There are reports of a 7-year sentence for someone who had stolen a handkerchief. Stealing a loaf of bread to feed yourself or your family would end you up on a one-way trip to the colonies. And it was quite common while they were in internment camps waiting to be sent off to Australia that they would have these cartwheel pennies engraved with messages for their loved ones. This one is a lovely example. It reads, "When this you see, think of me until I get my liberty, JB." These are really quite rare and unusual. I really paid up for this. This was about $500. I've not seen another one for sale until really recently. We've got a local antique shop, a local auction house that's just moved really close to where I live, and I looked at their online catalogue for their first sale on 30th of April, and they have one of these. They call them, they're known as a leaden heart. They've got an estimate of about $1,000 on it, so I'm really keen to see what that actually achieves at auction. Maybe if it's considerably less than that, I might spring for it. But this is a really important sort of historical thing. There are a number of these, about 30, 40, in the collection of the National Gallery in Canberra, which I visited several times. But this is just a beautiful piece of history. Let's see. You might want to go back a little bit to get all of these. So these are 3 enameled mugs. These were very common for various occasions. This one is the 1897 Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria. This is a reasonably common piece, probably worth about $100 or thereabouts. This one is the 1000th anniversary of Hungary, 1896, very similar date. This is very, very uncommon. I got this quite inexpensively. I've only ever seen one example since then in an auction, and it was described as being extremely rare. So I was very grateful to get this. This is the beauty. This is the real prize. This is a Klodzinka Cup of Sorrows, or blood cup. This was at the coronation of Tsar Nicholas II. These were given out as gifts to the populace, and in this particular field called Klodzinka in Moscow, there was a stampede. There was a rumor that went through that they were running out of these. These were filled with beer, that there was a shortage and they were going to run out. Also, there was a rumor that there was a gold coin in the cup. So I think over 1,300 people were trampled to death in this tragedy. There was great criticism of the royal family. They were seen not to observe the traditional 18-day mourning period, even though they did make reparations to the families of those who were lost. There was a great deal of criticism, a great deal of unrest against the Tsarist regime. And this was known to be the beginning of the fall of the regime, leading up to the 1917 Russian Revolution. So this is quite an important historical sort of an item, certainly for me. I paid up for this as well. This was about $500, I think. I really, really enjoy this. I love this item. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching. I'll try and do another one soon, I hope. Great stuff. Thanks, everyone.